What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made these beautiful, delicious, smoky, juicy, cheesy, amazing cheeseburger sausage rolls. Coming up. This is some beef. Ooh. Pat it dry. And what I got here is a pretty typical chuck roast. Picked this up at my local H-E-B grocery store. Looking pretty good. Got some decent marbling in there. Wish it had a fat cap on it, or more of a fat cap, so we'll probably have to add some fat for these burgers or sausage or whatever we're gonna call this. And just like every other time we've made burgers or meatloaf or anything else, we're gonna start out by cubing this up to make sure it'll fit in the meat grinder and chill down a lot quicker, so we get a nice, clean, even grind. And as always, you can use whatever cuts of meat you have or whatever you can find, especially if you have your own fat from brisket trim in the freezer. You could just grab the leanest cut you want, get a really good fat to meat ratio, but typically I'm reaching for a chuck roast or some brisket lean or something like that whenever I'm making burgers and or beef sausage. And there we have it, all cubed up. I grabbed some brisket trim out of the freezer for a little extra fat, and we got just under 4 pounds. But now I'm gonna pop this in the freezer to get nice and cold for a nice clean grind while we go ahead and get our spices together, which include some kosher salt, some granulated garlic, granulated onion, and some dry mustard. I forgot the pepper, hold on. Beautiful. Get that all nice and mixed up. Also at this stage, I've got my water weighed out. It's gonna be our liquid for this sausage. And I'm gonna go in with some dehydrated onions, let these kind of come back to life, just to add a little extra onion hit to this cheeseburger sausage. Now that our meat is nice and cold, through the grinder we go, going through the coarse die today, and we're just gonna send it through once. Beautiful. Very nice clean grind on that, and now in we go with all of our spices, and start getting that all mixed up. Ooh, smells good. Next up, we're gonna go in with our rehydrated onions / water. And mix that until it's nice and tacky. Real simple sausage today, folks. Nothing too fancy going on here. Just trying to get that perfect combination of cheeseburger / sausage. And this is a pretty odd amount of sausage. I think this is 3 pounds and like 11 ounces or something like that. And that's because I made the ratios of salt and whatnot off the amount of meat that I had, instead of just trying to get an even 5 pounds or something like that. And if you want to learn more about the sausage making ratios, you can check out my video all about that. So for this one, I did a little under 2% salt because we're adding a whole bunch of high temp cheddar cheese, which is a bit salty. And now we're just gonna get this folded in until everything is mixed up and evenly incorporated. And just like that, we've got a beautiful, nice, tacky, cheesy beef sausage. Up next, we're gonna roll these out into some logs on a piece of plastic wrap here. Just gonna grab a nice chunk. Not really sure how much to use. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it to make these as big as I wanna make them. But luckily, it's really sticky and quite easy to work with. Trying to make these about the same size as a sheet of puff pastry, because that's what we're gonna wrap these up with in a minute. But that looks pretty good. Roll it up, kind of like a Wellington. Nice and tight. And nice and plump. Beautiful. I'm gonna do probably one more of these. Now I'm gonna pop these into the fridge for a little bit while we start working with our puff pastry, which hopefully has defrosted a little bit. It's been sitting on the counter for like an hour. Ooh, definitely not defrosted. Might have to come back here in a minute. All right, wrap this in a paper towel, popped it in the microwave for like 20 seconds or something, and worked out really well, I think. Let's find out. Oh yeah, beautiful. To start things out, I'm gonna roll this out just a little bit, make it a little bit thinner, maybe a little bit wider, mostly just to get those creases out of this thing. Oh, perfect fit. And now on we go with our little log here. And we're just simply gonna try and roll this up, realizing that I probably should have floured this work surface. Nice and tight. Beautiful. Roll this over, and we're just gonna pinch this seam together on the underside. Lovely stuff. Flip it over so that seam is on the underside. And there we go. All wrapped up and looking very nice. Let's do it again. I might go a little bit thinner on this one, just for a little experiment. Roll it up. I'm also gonna egg wash this one just for good measure, although I don't think it's really necessary. Seems to stick pretty well. Beautiful. Cut off the extra. And now that these are all rolled up, I'm gonna pop them into the freezer for probably about 20 minutes while I go ahead and fire up that pellet grill. Well, it would appear that my pellet grill is no longer working. I just tried to fire it up and it made a noise, and it's not feeding pellets at all. Cracked it open, looked down there, tried to do the feed mode, tried to just run it naturally, and the little spindle dealie's just not spinning. So that's great, I guess. If anyone knows how to fix that, let me know. But do you know what kind of pit can never break? A wood-powered offset. So let's fire that up. This is what I get, folks, trying to be lazy. Oh God, right in the eye. Freaking electricity and moving parts. Who needs it? What is going on today? All right, our pit is on its way up to about 350, 375 degrees, which is pretty toasty, especially for an offset, but these are coming out of the freezer and looking absolutely beautiful. And now it's time to cut these up. So I'm gonna just start by kind of going right down the middle, and then in the middle again, and then one more time. And this is much easier to do with that really cold puff pastry. Cuts a lot cleaner, and that is just a beautiful looking little sight right there. All that cheese and meat, nice coarse grind on there. And it was at this stage I realized that I should have egg washed these first. That's all right. We'll get it on the next batch. Actually, it's probably not that big a deal. Yeah, that'll work out. For this guy, shape it up a little bit and hit it with the egg. Oh geez, oh God, great. Good day here on the Chud set, everybody. Egg wash is just gonna help that puff pastry get a really nice golden brown color and help our seasoning stick. But now that it's nicely coated, we'll slice this one up as well. And load these onto a Silpat lined baking sheet. And then using some of my table egg here, we'll get these painted too. Both ways work well, although this one might have a little egg seeping between there, which might cook on a little weird onto the sausage, but I guess we'll find out, folks. Gotta love a nice quick and easy recipe in the backyard. And lastly, we're gonna hit these with some sesame seeds because it's got that cheeseburger bun vibe. But you can leave these naked, hit them with some flake salt. Ooh, I probably should throw some everything bagel spice on a few of these. Doesn't really keep up with the theme of what we're trying to do here, but you know it's gonna be tasty. There we go. Just do a couple. Alrighty, on the pit we go. Nice hot fire today. Like I said, right around 375 degrees. And these should only take about 30 minutes or so. So we'll check back in a little bit. And I'm not sure if you can see, but there's hardly any smoke coming out of that thing because I'm trying to run a really clean fire on these. That's one of the hard things about baking on an offset is one, you have to get it pretty hot. You know, cooking around 400 degrees is a lot hotter than I usually do on this bad boy. Two, I don't want to get any ash or soot on these, especially with that egg washed puff pastry. A lot of things could stick to it and not look as pretty, which is the main reason I wanted to use a pellet grill is because there's not much smoke flavor, but it holds heat really well. But the offset's more fun anyway. And my other concern is those shiny trays I use are made of aluminum and they look really pretty on camera, but they tend to warp under high heat like this. They always go back to the same shape afterwards, but I'm just worried that it's gonna warp and knock a few of these over. But you know what, folks? We're just gonna have to play it by ear on this one. So we're gonna let those cook away for about 30 minutes while we go ahead and make a really quick burger sauce. Going for a classic burger sauce today, folks. Really nothing fancy. Starting out with some mayonnaise. Oh, followed by some spicy ketchup. Oh, a little bit of some yellow mustard. Splash of some Worcestershire sauce. Beep. An adorable little spoonful of some relish, a little shot of sriracha for a little bit of heat, and a little bit of chud rub, just for good measure. And get that all nice and mixed up. And there we go. All right, it's been about 30 minutes, and these guys are looking good. Nothing tipped over, got a nice golden brown to them, and they're looking pretty tasty. So I'm gonna pull these out, let them cool down a little bit, and we'll dive on in. And here they are in all their glory, folks. A beautiful mountain of cheesy, smoky cheeseburger sausage rolls with a lovely little dipping sauce, and yeah, I want to eat one. Well, here we are again, folks. Another one of those ideas that I thought sounded kind of weak, but now that I'm staring down a big pile of these bad boys, they're calling my name. Nice and juicy, beautiful flaky pastry on there. I temped them, they were right around 150 internal, and they just held together really well. It was a very easy cook. You know, I was worried about a lot of things on that smoker, but it was probably the most pain-free cook I've done on this channel in quite a long time. And it comes together really quickly too. But all that is a moot point if they don't taste good, so let's go for it. Good God. That's really good. That tastes remarkably like a cheeseburger. I really thought it was gonna lean more towards the sausage side of the equation, but that cheese and that smoky beef in there, that is phenomenal. And that nice buttery crust on top, that is a flavor bomb. That is really good. So cheesy. Definitely picked up a good amount of smoke too, which is really nice. Just a lovely little bite-sized cheeseburgery bite. The sauce definitely makes it, really pushes it into that cheeseburger territory. Dang, that's good. That is just a solid bite of food right there. That puff pastry is cooked perfectly. Nice flaky layers. That cheese stayed in place, but is still nice and melty. I feel like if you did this with regular cheddar, not the high temp stuff, it would just ooze out and be all over the place. The extra oil in there would have broken out and probably soaked the bottom of these things. So that was a good call. Everything is perfectly seasoned. You got textural contrast, buttery flavor. I mean, come on. What's not to like about that? This really is a perfect barbecue item to pass around at a party. You know, if you knocked out like 5 or 6 of these things. Just tossed them in the oven, on the pellet grill, on the smoker. I would grab one of these if I saw it on a little tray. Boop, boop, boop. That was so good. I think the only downside to these is with the fatty meat, all that cheese, the buttery puff pastry, they are pretty heavy. So this is definitely in the appetizer category, not the sit down and eat a pile of them. But then again, you do you. It's like a little meatball wrapped in buttery goodness. It's interesting that these eat a lot more like a cheeseburger than that smash burger taco I made last week. You know, it's all the same components, but I think it's all about that buttery puff pastry. It's a little more reminiscent of a bun, but this is definitely something I highly recommend making. But before I sign out, I think it's time for the official taste test. Why did I make so many of these? I don't know. Brooke has the flu right now, so she doesn't want to come eat this. So maybe I will have to eat this whole pile after all. Oh no. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic, smoky, cheesy cheeseburger sausage rolls. I highly recommend giving this one a try. It really does come together pretty quick and is really easy to do. You know, especially if you just go to the store, buy yourself some breakfast sausage or Italian sausage or something, roll it up in some puff pastry and toss it on the pit. This really is a fun form factor to play around with. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.